Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Here is Usama Tahir and you're watching Learn English with Usama Tahir. Students, today we are going to talk about something very practical, something you see around yourself in different social communities, in different speaking communities to be precise. Okay, students, we have observed that in different places we speak or we have different languages. But did we consider that in a specific area or in different classes, the same language is spoken in different ways? So, let me give you an example, then you will be able to understand my point. For example, in different social classes, for example, educated people speak a specific language differently than less educated or not educated peoples, or rich people speak a language differently than the poor people. Upper class use of language is different from the middle class, and the middle class language use is different from the lower class or the labor class or the working class. So this is our question today, that do we think that language is used differently on the basis of different social classes, on different economical class or different economic classes? So just think about it. This is our question here. Okay, we are going to talk about social dialects in this manner, in this regard. So what is a social dialect? This is the question. So let's move forward. Variety of speech associated with, wait a minute, let me on my highlighter. Variety of speech associated with specific social class or occupational group within a society. Variety of speech, or you can say variety of the language that we can associate with specific social class. What are the social classes? Like upper class, lower class, working class, middle class, or occupational groups within a society. Or it depends, the language can be different on the basis of different occupational groups, like the use of language by an engineer or other educated occupations like a doctor, lawyer would be different from the a labor profession, like they would speak in different manner. And what are the differences? We will discuss them later on, so don't worry, stay with me, stay tuned in this video. So social dialect is also known as sociolect, group idiolect, and class dialect. So these are different names of the simple phenomena social, of the one simple phenomena social dialect. So let's discuss what are the social classes. This is the question here. Most of the students get confused in this social class differentiation. So here is the upper class, here is the middle class, and here is the lower class. Just read what's written here. I look down on him because I am upper class. He is saying to this person. So I feel this person is inferior. Look down mean to feel someone is inferior. So that middle class people say, I look down on him because he is lower class. And look what lower class says to the middle class, I just look fucked. I just look fuck off because there is damn all I can do about. Because the more you belong to the working class or the lower class, the more weaker you are. So this example can also relate to the linguistic, to the language as well. The language of that person or the upper class would be far superior than the middle class and the working class. And the language of working class will be too inferior, on the basis of the structure, on the basis of their vocabulary, on the basis of their pronunciation patterns. So their language would be inferior, like they are inferior economically or socially as well. So let's move forward. Classes in our consideration. What will be the classes in our research here is middle class, okay, or the working class. So there are two classes we are going to discuss here on the basis of their language differences, middle class and the working class. Middle class is a class which seems to be educated. The first point is educated. Next, they do non-manual work, not the manual one like laborers. And on the other hand, working class will be less educated or not educated, okay, and they will be performing manual work like they belong to the labor groups, right. And here is a note below. The term upper, lower are used to further subdivide groups. We can say lower middle class, or we can say upper middle class. We can say lower working class, or we can say upper working class. These two terms, lower and upper, are used to subdivide the groups. Okay, the basic groups in our consideration would be middle class and the working class. And I told you the differences. One would be educated and performing non-manual, like office work or administration work, management works like that. And working class will be doing manual works like labor, and they will be considered working class, and they will less educated or even not educated, illiterate. Okay, this is our two classes we will consider, and then on these bases we will see the language differences in English, to be precise. Okay, what can be the differences? Now the question here is, we have discussed that there are language differences on the basis of society. We have discussed these societies as well. Now let's discuss the differences. Differences can be on the basis of vocabulary. For example, more formal and good vocabulary is used in the upper class. For example, more educated people use bookish vocabulary, formal words, and they don't tend to use informal vocabulary or the less prestigious words. They use more and more, what we consider them bookish words, or what we consider them formal or difficult words. They are used by more educated and the upper class groups. Next we have structures. Good structures, grammatically correct structures are used by the upper classes rather than the working class, or mostly used by the middle class groups, not by the lower class groups. Like double negation, which is used in the lower class, which is ungrammatical structure, and is mostly used in the lower class or in the black community, black working class community. Next we have pronunciation. There are different pronunciation differences that helps you to identify from which social group you are. I'm repeating myself. From different pronunciation patterns, we easily identify a person that from which social group he or she will belong. For example, post-vocalic R production in upper class in New York. I mean, if you're in New York, you are in upper class supermart, the post-vocalic R will be produced. What is post-vocalic R? That production of R sound, like in the word like fourth. And if you are in a more rich store, it would more chances to be produced R, like fourth. And if you are middle class, there would be less chances. And if you are working class store, it would be like fourth. Right, the more R is produced, the more you are from the better group, the more you are from the upper class, the more you are from the middle class, and then to the upper class. So this happens in New York in the pronunciation. So these are the levels on which language can be different on the basis of different social groups. So we have an example from the pronunciation. Edinburgh, Scotland. Okay, this example is from the Scotland. It's very exciting example. Like word home is pronounced as hame, as in name. Like we use the sound name, they say home as hame in lower working class. So this pronunciation belongs to lower working class. We know that home is a home, not hame, and this is a wrong pronunciation, but we associate this pronunciation with the lower working class of Edinburgh, Scotland. Okay. Word home is pronounced as home, as in form, like in the actual pronunciation is home. In middle class speakers, I mean in the better groups, in the educated groups, in the non-manual workers, like who are not laborers at least. So this was an example on the basis of pronunciation. Next we have use of verb ain't. This belongs to structure. Okay. We use ain't instead of is not, am not, has not. Like I haven't finished it yet. Instead of saying like that, we can say I ain't finished it yet. And who used it? This is the question. This verb form is mostly used in working class than in middle class. I mean, mostly uneducated people and laborers, they used to speak like that, right? Next example is double negation, which is also a structural difference on the basis of social groups. Double negatives are sentences or phrases used to use two negative, instead of two, I made a mistake, two negative words together, as is mostly used by less educated groups than educated ones. For example, I haven't got no money, I haven't got no food, I haven't got no time. So instead of saying I haven't got any money, I haven't got any food, I haven't got any time, we use these speakers use double negative. Sometimes they create confusion, and these are merely the ungrammatical structures, but are used in different social groups, mostly in the less educated groups. So this is the difference on the basis of social group as well. So let's discuss Labov research, which he conducted in 1966 to claim that there are differences on the basis of social groups, which we call social dialects. There were, okay students, let's give you the overview of this research. This research was conducted in the New York City. There were 3 stores. One belongs to the upper class, one belongs to the middle class, and one belongs to the working class. So there were 3 stores, right? And he gets into each store and asks the same question, like where is the clothes, or the expected answer was 4th floor. So he wanted to judge the post vocalic R pronunciation, whether the salesman would produce the R sound or would not produce. So first he went into the 6th, 5th Avenue, which was a rich store, that store belongs to upper class. Then he went into the Macy's store, and then he gets into Clean store. And the more the store belongs to the upper class, the more chances were there to produce R sound. And he gave the calculations that there were more evidences, there were more salesmen who were using R sound in the upper class than in the lower and then in the middle class. So it shows how pronunciation can identify from which group you are. The more upper class group salesmen were tend to say 4th instead of 4th, and the less the stores which belong to the lower class or the lower middle class or the working class tend to say 4th. Instead of saying 4th, they say 4th. So this was a difference that was claimed by Labov research. So that was all today, that we can associate with social groups, and the different language variations are there. So similarly, language can be different on the basis of region, language can be different on the basis of the age, on the basis of the society, and all different things. Our concern here was to discuss the language differences on the basis of different social groups. This was our concern today. So if you have any queries, any question, you can ask me in the comment section, and take care of yourselves. Allah Hafiz. God bless you.